Commissioner meeting for Monday, September 9th of 2024. On the agenda tonight, under old business, we need to approve a road cut for Patrick Raymond on Duffy Hill Road. New business, we have Hunter Kerouac here with a 90-day employment review. We got a personnel policy update, town administrator's report, approved minutes of the August 12th meeting, signs payroll warrants, and anything else we need to add?
Oh, it should say August 26th, sorry, that's my fault. The only other issue is we received a letter from the Agency of Ag today for herbicide spraying that we should look at. I'm not sure what, I'm sorry, I forgot to ask you, are you here for some reason?
Yeah, street lights on Sheldon Heights.
Sheldon Heights, okay. Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Oliver, do you have any business or
I may. I'm working on that right now.
Alright. Well, we'll start with Hunter so we can get him out of here and get on. And we'll executive for that.
Yep, I'll make a motion to go to executive session for Hunter's 90-day review.
Okay.
I'll second.
Alright, all in favor?
Aye.
So I didn't catch your name.
It's Derek Woolridge
Okay.
at 54 Forest Heights. I've seen in the meeting minutes that you're considering putting some street lights in on Sheldon Heights.
Yeah, what's your opinion on that?
Well, is it on Sheldon Heights or is it on Forest Heights, Trophy Lane?
The request was for a light down at the intersection of 105 and Sheldon Heights, and then possibly a second one, but not that far up the hill, not all the way up.
On the intersection?
No, Brian Derry came and requested it, and he asked for a light at the intersection with 105, and then I think he also thought that we should have one near where the dry hydrant is there.
Oh.
Yeah, which is just at the bottom of the hill still. But we had not discussed having lights further into the neighborhood there.
At one point, there, I don't know, quite a few years ago, considered there was talk of putting streetlights throughout the whole thing there. I didn't know. When are you for this or against it or what?
I would be against it.
Okay.
Just for several reasons. We have an Act 250 permit on the subdivision. There's no lighting allowed in that Act 250 permit.
Yeah.
Everything's supposed to be dark sky compliant, low lighting,
Okay.
that kind of thing. It's supposed to be a dark environment.
Okay.
And throwing in lights at intersections just might throw lights into the houses
A
and
little
stuff.
bit more so, yeah.
And then you get problems with, wildlife patterns, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I would not be for, I'd be against the putting in lights.
Brian's requests are down at the intersection or at the dry hydrant.
That wouldn't be
That
an issue
wouldn't-
for me.
okay.
No.
That's what we have for the request.
Okay, yeah, because that seems more appropriate because it's at a fairly major intersection and,
Yeah.
as long as because one of the things that I've seen in the past where you have really bright lights, it makes everything else darker. So as long as it's a reasonable light level, and I'm sure
Yeah.
whoever you get to put it in will know that. And
Yeah, that's not sure, we're not sure that's anything we're gonna entertain because, a request like that would be, maybe we need to put streetlights at every intersection in town and I don't know if there's a need for that. So this was just something that he's requested and we're kind of tossing it around, but
you talked to V-Trans? I mean, it is their intersection.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had talked to them about that, and I thought that there would be they have guidance about lighting, but it seemed like there was not a concern to them about whether we would put that up or not. So I had thought that might be an issue, but apparently not, so.
Lighting, you gotta put lights on the fire trucks. Yeah, I'm with that. What do we have?
Yeah, I think part of the issue is I believe the business that's there at the bottom of the hill, I don't know if it still has a light or not, but there used to be a light that would come from the business there that would light that intersection sort of. And I don't know that that's there anymore. And so it may be darker than it used to be. I think Brian's concern is partly about people being somehow missing the turn there.
It is kind of hard to see as you're trying to pull in. Exactly.
I thought there might be a way to do that without, make that more visible without necessarily adding lights there. We could make the sign bigger, we could move it closer to the road. There's, there's other things we might be able to do that would accomplish it without necessarily being, adding light, but that was the request that we got. But certainly I don't think he ever talked about putting anything up further into the neighborhood.
That's all I wanted to know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for talking to me.
Who was it? When it's lights everywhere up there. One time, somebody came down and they were pushing to put street lights up there and everything, just like in the village here.
It was somebody who drew salt to, wasn't it? They wanted, yeah, I don't remember exactly.
Wasn't that famous, right? That famous president? No.
No, I don't
What's your name?
Alright, well, let's,
There is a financial, the clerk gave you a budget, or a budget status report there, if you want to review that as well.
So I need some more, so. Personnel.
I'll read the minutes from the previous meeting here. Select Board Water Commissioner meeting, August 26th of 2024, held here at the town office. In attendance from the Select Board is Stephen Dodd, Seth Hungerford, Richard Piazza. Others here are Brian Derry, Barry Jarvis, Jody Jarvis, Seth Patel, the road foreman, Matt Stebbins, town administrator, Jerry Lacy from Northwest Access TV, and Stephen Trombley. At 7:30, I called the meeting to order and read the agenda. Additions to the agenda: Stephen Trombley and Barry and Jody Jarvis added to the agenda to discuss the right-of-way near Dyer Road and town highway standards. Brian Derry to follow up on the questions from last meeting. Seth Patel gave the highway report. Did not sign road cut permit on Duffy Hill Road as the location was not marked. Steve Curley has started the second round of roadside mowing. Duffy Hill Road, Tower Road, Bouchard Road, Central Street were graded and chloride treated. The 2023 F-350 was recently serviced under warranty. Crew was cleaning, brush treating, and painting truck undercarriages, plows, and frames. Seth and Matt will attend training on pavement management. Culverts on the Cattell Road will be replaced next month under the Grants and Aid program. 742, Steve Trombley owns several lots on a private road off Bedard Road. He also owns a right-of-way from Pine Hill Drive through Berry and Jody Jarvis's property. He's willing to sell the right-of-way to the Jarvises so that they can build a garage. However, this would leave a private road as the only access to more than 3 homes, and per the zoning bylaws, such road would need to be brought up to town standards. Mr. Tremblay asked the board to clarify those standards, specifically whether the road would need to be paved. I explained that the town would require the road to be paved before it would be adopted as a town highway, but if it remains a private road, it only needs to be brought up to town standard, which is based on state guidance. Matt provided a copy of the state guidance showing requirements of lane width, etc. 754, Brian Derry inquired again about the 2023 financial reports and audit. The board stated that further questions should be addressed to the town treasurer. Brian also asked whether the town clerk is still a resident, and Steve presented a copy of a lease agreement showing that the clerk is maintaining an address in Sheldon. Brian also asked about street lighting on Sheldon Heights. Matt responded that he had determined that the state would not object. He still needs to contact Green Mountain Power to determine the cost. At 812, the board passed over the road permit cut for Duffy Hill Road as it had not yet been approved by the road foreman. Matt gave the town administrator's report. The planning commission would like to be kept apprised of any changes the select board makes to the draft town plan before the public hearing. Matt updated the board on the final presentation of the Sheldon Junction Trailhead Planning Project. The Regional Policing Advisory Board had their initial meeting and will meet again September 5th. The issue of who maintains the generator at Sheldon School has come up again. At 8:27, I read the minutes from the August 12th meeting, and the board signed payroll warrants. 8:34, Rick motion to approve the minutes as read, seconded by Steve, and motion carried. At 8:45, the board took up the draft town plan received from the planning commission. Matt gave a list of factual corrections that could be made. Seth made the motion and Rick seconded to approve those changes and schedule a legislative hearing for Monday, September 23rd at 7:30. And 8:46 on a motion by Seth and seconded by Rick. Meeting adjourned. Next regular meeting is Monday, September 9th, 7:30. Make a motion to accept these minutes as read.
Thank you, Rick, the only ones that were here for it.
Yeah. I make a motion to accept it. That's right.
Okay. And I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So this, for the cut permit, the plastic frame in there, so that's, oh yeah, you signed it, so you
Yep.
got that all figured out.
Yeah, I guess Norman had sort of marked it, but it was really impossible. Seth and I actually went up and looked at it, and it was pretty impossible to tell where it was. So anyway, he ran into Norman about the day after the last meeting, and they went over where the meet, and Seth thought it was going to be. He was worried about that general area, but once he figured out where the driveway was going to be, he thought that wouldn't be an issue.
Okay, so this is a vacant lot that he's trying
Yes.
to walk to get the driveway in to build it out.
Correct, yeah. It's pretty much right at the top of the Duffy Hill Road before it starts curving back toward Sheldon, so. Yeah, I guess this fellow is Norman's brother, I guess.
Oh.
Yeah. But I guess he lives in North Carolina now. So that's why Norman's did the application.
Yep.
Good grief. Where did we go around this?
So, on this agency ag stuff, what's their,
So we have the right to appeal that, or to request a hearing, which I'm inclined to do. That's not really a problem for me. I met with David Hubers, the guy who had in charge of that. I think you guys have met him before, because I think he's talked to those of you who own farms. I think he's probably met me before. Anyway, he came and talked to me. I guess they were in the area, so he came and talked to me at one point, and he kind of let me know that it was probably going to be a substantial fine, which it is. And so, but we have the right to, request a hearing. I'm not sure if that will really change the fine, but we can. I feel inclined to exercise that right, just so that maybe we can talk to somebody else about the circumstances there. Again, because, and I explained to them that I think why that happened is because we had, a very short staff and a limited amount of time to deal with this. And, but anyway, we do have a plan to get everybody on the staff training for how to do that, get certified to do that in the future.
So, was it just down by the bridge?
There were like 3 different.
Yeah, it was I believe it was mostly on the Kane Road. They saw things happening, so yeah, it's the regulation has. They gave me a copy of the regulation book. I have it on my desk. It has rules about how far you can be from water source, from drinking water sources, things like that, and bridges and things like that. Well, mostly it's about water sources, but anyway. Their rundown of the facts as it is pretty much my understanding. I don't think there's anything in there that isn't correct, I'll put it that way.
So where was the hearing made?
I don't know. I'm not sure if that would be. I'd have to go back and look at my notes from the time when I talked to David when he came to the office, because I think I asked about that. I assume that it could be done virtually or over the phone. That I initially appealed it. I exercised our initial right to appeal. So we did that with our phone conversation. It was myself and David. But I don't know if this seems like a more formal hearing, this 15-day process or whatever. And I don't know if I'd have to travel for that, or if I could just phone that in. But I will ask about that. Certainly, since I have 15 days, I can let you know at the next select board meeting what that process looks like.
well, I think we need a motion to appeal this. I don't think we should just do nothing here.
Right, I'll make a motion to entertain the appeal.
Second. All right, all those in favor? Aye. Yeah, find out about that, okay, something like go over here or whatever, if we need to.
Just a recap.
Speaking of policing,
Yeah,
we learned that,
Money going, money left.
they pay for review at $91 per hour.
Yeah.
Why are we building this?
So I think I explained it at the last meeting that there was because we were still in contract negotiations with the sheriff at that time, we didn't have the meeting where we decided to decline the contract until the first week of July, or until the first meeting in July. They provided service that first week of July, assuming that we were going to approve the contract. So that's why we received the bill. So they did patrol and and I asked at the last meeting, I believe, whether that was I didn't hear an objection from the select board, so.
Alright, you got a report for us?
I do, yeah, I can go that quickly. As mentioned in the minutes, Seth and I attended a training from the local roads gave a training on pavement management, which was useful for me in particular. I think they're trying to get people to think more about some alternative things beyond just paving in terms of managing pavement, doing more crack sealing and other sort of maintenance activity as opposed to replacing the pavement every time. And what I think I talked to Rick about this and a few other people. I think one thing we need to do, I have a pretty good inventory of all of our roads, where I've broken them down by segments, and I'm working on trying to backfill in the information about when we last did major repairs on each segment of the road. But one thing I think I'd like to look at doing, because the state does have a lot of data available, is building a sort of a mapping, using some mapping software to track that as well, so that we can be highlighting individual sections of the road that we can identify when we last did things. And also the idea of the management strategy they were talking about is, doing an annual assessment of different, picking about a third of the road and trying to assess the condition of the road and the available treatments for it, and trying to schedule repairs according to the condition of the road, and having an idea of the entire network at one time. So I think that's something that I can work on building, and then if Seth and I can work together to do the actual evaluation, that'll help us with planning in the future. In a month's time or so, I can show you kind of what I've been working on in that, in terms of the software side. Steve Purley, as I mentioned, he started mowing 2 weeks ago, and then he had some work to finish in Enosburg, so he went back over there, and then I guess he had some equipment problems, so he's just gotten back to finishing our roads this week. But I assume that will be done by the end of this week.
Are you still on the pavement roads?
Yeah, I think that was what we, unless you feel that we should include the dirt roads. I did say he could probably just do the Maury road, since it's easier to get out to the Heald road by going that way. So, but I didn't. I said, you can do like on Cattell Road, certainly do the paved sections of it, but there's no reason to go all the way up on top of the hill and all that. And Seth kind of confirmed that, because they were out working on the Eldridge Road today, and he said, there's laid over grass, but there's no tall weeds or anything up there. So as mentioned, the road crew was up working on shoulders on the Eldridge Road and Cattell Road today. As I mentioned, I've got Hungerford Paving has said that they're looking at the last week of September for the paving project at Chris Mill Fire Department. So yeah, so I'm hoping to get the fence guy in here to take that down. At least I'm not sure when. He said that he'd be having surgery sometime this month, so I'm not sure if he'll be able to put it back up. But we have to wait until next year to have him put it back up. That's, it's not perfect, but it's better than not having it taken down at all. So the road crew's planning to do the preliminary work behind the fire department, with saw cutting it and putting the new base down that time. So I think they're scheduling, Seth's got that scheduled for toward the end of next week, so that the week after, if Hungerford comes, they'll be ready to go. Well, one issue is per our existing personnel policy, the winter hours for the road crew should be starting this week. But Seth has said the last few years we've been pushing that back into October. And I just wanted to make sure that
He
was.
called me and asked about that, and, you know, he said in past years, we said, that's fine. He feels he gets more work done in a 10-hour day than they do the shorter days, and so he'd like to extend that out.
Yeah, I think he was thinking until Columbus Day.
And I told him weather dependent
Correct.
and whatever, but, so, yeah.
Okay.
That's,
All right. We've had a couple of calls lately for tree removal issues where people have trees that are in the town right away that they're, I think because of the windstorms we've had lately, they're suddenly concerned about these trees that are either dead or soon to be, or they're worried that they're dying, but I don't know if I think Seth prefers to do some of that work more in the winter as opposed to this time of year, just because it's easier to do when the ground is frozen and there aren't as many leaves to deal with and all that stuff. But I didn't know if maybe we should be developing a policy about that, or I don't know that it has to be written, but
yeah.
because I mean,
that's kind of a
yeah,
tree.
right.
You know, one tree might be a different situation than another.
Yeah, I just don't want there to be a situation where people are, because, I mean, in most cases, it's a very large tree, and it's a lot more expensive to cut
Where
a
is
tree. To have a service do it now, and I feel like people are expecting the town to come and take care of these trees, where there may not be if it's not a visibility problem, there's no, you know, immediate
If
need.
it's not a visibility,
Yeah.
it's not a road hazard, I don't know,
Right.
but we want to get in the tree service business.
Right.
We have in the past, but
Yeah, well,
where were they located?
Well, there was one complaint up on the Kittel Road where there was a tree that did fall down early in the winter, and the crew did remove the part that fell down, but there's still part of it that could still be cut down. And Seth said they even thought about doing it at the time, but there was going to be too much work at that particular time. They were going to circle back to it. And then another complaint we received was down on the Sweet Hollow Road, which is a tree that I'm not sure is really dead, but it may have just gotten some blight this year or something, that it looks like it's dying kind of early this year. And anyway, it was a large tree, so. But it isn't, I don't think it's in danger of falling.
Is it gonna fall over the road?
If it does, it would, yeah. It's in the town right away. Yeah.
Not on the hill.
I guess it could fall into the house, but it looks like it would fall into the road. But, anyway,
that, I think you gotta assess it, but, well, a dead tree can stand there for quite a few years before anything ever
Right.
happened to it, too, but,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's just something you gotta go look at, I guess.
If you go look at them,
yeah.
if you cut the trees up on regular time, you know.
Yeah, without an emergency call and everything else.
Yeah, I guess that's sort of the.
That's the kind of stuff you gotta weigh out. Makes
Okay.
sense.
Make note of those. Did you make Seth aware of those?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was sort of I'm sharing with you basically what his assessment was, that the one tree, yeah, we meant to deal with that last winter and we'll plan on doing that this winter. And then the other one, he said, I'm not really sure if it's a problem, right? Or if the tree's really dead, or if it's just, blighted this year or whatever.
Is it a pine tree?
No, it's a deciduous tree of some sort. I think it's an oak tree. The one that is. But that's another issue, is that the ash borer problem is getting closer. I mean, I think there are some trees in Sheldon that have that problem.
Yeah.
There's a number of trees on the Woods Hill Road in Swanton I've seen that are affected. So we may have problems with ash trees in the next few years.
You're gonna have trouble with trees forever.
Anyway, just because those are the I've been doing some budget work, looking at past budgets in preparation for our eventual budget discussion this year. And one thing the school had called about the generator having a problem down there. And I talked with Hubert about that in terms of when we last maintained that, and he said it was several years ago, and the budget also shows where the finances also show that, so I made it pretty clear to the school that
Well, I think it
that's
is
not our
that
problem.
down there, didn't have a lot out of it for a while, and
Right.
then
Yeah.
we had that discussion with the school, we ended up having somebody come do all the filters and doing oils. Remember that here? Yeah, I don't know where it was.
Anyway.
I said it was several years ago, and I don't think anything came out.
Since, no, I don't think so either, so I
I don't know where
But-
does it, you don't know if it starts and runs?
apparently it was supposed to start and run recently, and it didn't do that. And nobody knew where the keys were, so it tells me that nobody's really been taking care of business down there, so. But
New janitors and
I think it's an automatic starting system, isn't it, right?
I think it's supposed to be, but it didn't work.
Okay.
So
No.
so there's keys to get in, to take the side panels and stuff, right?
I think they came and got the key that we had, and then they promptly broke it off down there in the panel, so, anyway, they have a problem down there, but I was trying to, I said, well, here's who we used to maintain the generator that we still have at the water department, but I said, I'm pretty sure this should be a school expense, not a.
Well, yes and
expense.
no. It's the town's, shelter.
Correct, yeah.
And
And the town did have that generator installed, but it's,
the town, it came to the town through FEMA years ago. And that's where we chose to set it up. And, yeah. So,
but,
when you call up Caterpillar, look them up, they'll give you a hell of a bill. And it'll work. When the last time we did, yeah, I don't know.
it was several years ago, within at least 7 years ago, at least that there's a show in the budget about it. So, anyway, the final thing, I made a mistake on the town plan thing, which is that I overlooked that needed to be put in the newspaper until, and I forgot, the Messenger, of course, only publishes 2 days a week now. By the time I realized that it was gonna be too late to publish it in order to have 15 days ahead of when we had scheduled the town plan hearing. So I'm gonna have to ask you to move that to a later date than when we had planned. So we had planned for the 23rd. If I got that into the newspaper this week, we could have it the 30th, which would be the following Monday. That's all right with you guys. That's not a regular meeting week, but it would require having a special meeting, but I have to warn the hearing anyway, so it would be a special hearing just for the one issue of the town plan.
We do that, usually we do that town plan separate meeting in.
All right,
Yeah.
well.
So that would work.
Yeah, okay, so, we had initially scheduled that, so it would be on the same day as your regular meeting, but I will move it to September 30th, which will also be a Monday. But again, that was my mistake there,
Better not have all that business together.
Do we need a motion on that, just to pass it for a thing, or? There's actually, I'm saying for.
I'm not sure if
procedures,
we need a
could
motion
do
on
it
that, we did have a motion last time, but then we were also approving changes that we made.
Right, that was that one,
yeah.
just took those changes.
Yeah.
We just gotta schedule it. so.
Okay, all right. Okay, and that's all I have to report. I have worked up changes to the personnel policy there. We don't have to necessarily approve those tonight, but we could discuss them if you want, or we could save it till next meeting. The only thing I should share about that is I did call League of Cities and Towns and ask them about the because our personnel policy contains a conflict of interest policy, and this year the state effectively repealed municipal conflict of interest policies, and I asked them whether we should be, cutting that part out of our policy, and they said, well, because of the hokey way in which the state passed this, they kind of took away your ability to make conflict of interest policy, so that would sort of include the ability to repeal it also. Anyway, what's going to happen now is the state is going to define a municipal code of ethics, and then what we're supposed to adopt for policies is how to investigate and what's the word? Not punish, but essentially how to deal with enforcement of a code of ethics. Now, our existing policy doesn't really contain an investigation or enforcement provision, but that law doesn't take effect until January anyway, and I thought it would be best to wait and see if the LCT or the State Board of Ethics or State Ethics Committee came up with some guidance on what those procedures might be. So for right now, I've just limited the changes to the issues we had brought up about compensatory time off, and we added a holiday this year, and there's a couple of and the fire department proposal for having personnel go on fire calls. So that's so I've left all the conflict of interest language in the policy as it is. The state basically the state guidance is going to supersede all of the things that we've defined, and at some future date we should circle back to adopt investigation and enforcement procedures, but I thought it best to wait until we had some guidance on what the model policy would be on that. So
Wonderful.
Did you, when you were discussing the generator there at school, did you have any more conversation about the plan?
I have not had, I think what I probably should do is probably should go to a board meeting as well, besides just talking with the Northeast Supervisory Union staff, because I've kind of discussed it with them, but I've been wondering if maybe I should bring it to a board level discussion. That might be better.
What are they concerned about?
So we've had this conversation for a while now about the school property, because the town was given that property by the mill, and the town technically still owns it.
Yeah.
But we've had these situations like the generator, or especially the changing of the parking lot down there, where the school has suggested things to work on, but they are expecting the town to pay for these improvements. And I guess.
Well, it started
Sorry.
discussion, safety issues with the buses loading them on.
Yeah, the road.
And so we had some discussions about possibly rerouting the road and them changing the parking area and this and that, and they come up with a kind of a different scenario. They'd like to come in off the road and then turn by the ball fields and go up between the tennis court for the car drop off, and the buses go up the way they were, and thinking that would alleviate some of the congestion. But then the question came up with, are they on school property, are they on town property there, and so.
I think they're on town, and I think that the school building there something makes me think I hadn't moved back to town there. That was like 2 or 3 years before I moved back to town in the late 80s or early 90s. That's when they did all that ball field. They got a grant or something.
Yes.
And I think that the town got the money, or got this grant, and the school couldn't get it, and then they deeded it. Yeah, Boise, or the mill deeded it to the town, and then I think the town deeded it to the school, and then I think they deeded it back, maybe, something. I'm not quite sure, but we used to mow the lawn down there. Town always mowed all the grounds down there, except around the school.
So now, and that's the thing that's come up, that, you know, now they mow the lawn.
Yeah.
They're trying to maintain ball fields. Is it of any interest to the town to keep that land? Or better just
Transfer it.
transfer it to the school?
Right.
And let them deal with the fence and the lawns and the.
Right.
So that's the question that's coming up, and that's
So
what
then-
we're trying to
So then does that,
find out. if
so
there's-
should someone do a title search on the property and figure out who's the actual owner?
Well, I think that we've done sort of.
Well, it essentially did that, and there was, so you're correct, when the ball fields were built down there was a grant gotten, and their subdivision was planned. There's a plan in the zoning office of a subdivision down there that would have subdivided the ball fields away from the town, the school property. And the town would have maintained it, but there isn't, as far as I can tell, there's no, that was never recorded. And there was no exchange of, there's no deed showing that land was ever exchanged. So, as far as what we've been able to find in the town records, the town still owns the original parcel that the mill gave back in 1972.
Let's see,
They never
There's no subsequent transaction where the school was sold to the school district, or, and I don't know that the subdivision that was planned was ever recorded. Yeah. But that is what informed the conventional wisdom about who took care of what down there. That subdivision was what everybody thought was the way it is, but as far as I can tell, that's not officially what happened.
well, it's kind of a confusing thing to know what town property is and what school property is.
Exactly, and as
It's
long
two
as
different things.
as long as they had the same tax base, it kind of was a moot point about which entity was paying for the maintenance down there. But now that the school district is larger and regional, it sort of stands to reason that Sheldon should have the same relationship with its school property as the other towns have with their school property. Another issue that has come up, just because a couple of people have asked me about it, is of course the school owns the forest on the other side of the road, and residents they have the whole community forest thing going on there, and there was a committee of people that organized that, and there seem to be a number of people who think that somehow the town's involved in that project, and that that's not the town's property. But I don't know that the school's organizing the maintenance of those trails or any of those things, so it's sort of we have confusion on both sides of the road, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah. Anyway, I thought,
perhaps there we should get an attorney to determine what is actually, a legal opinion of what there is there, and then.
Well, I think we've gotten kind of that question's gone to our town attorney on what's the advantage of us keeping that property and that ownership, and or what's the disadvantage of
Right.
quit claiming it. He said the easiest way would be just quit claiming it over to the school, but we have to weigh in whether it's worth us keeping and maintaining those ball fields and maintaining that tennis court and the basketball court and all that and the fence, or and then how do we help the school correct their driveways and parking issues and bus routes, and without actually moving the road, and there'd be a lot less expense to the town if we just said, okay, quit claim that land over to the school and say, okay, if you guys want to put your your bus route or your driveway or whatever, that's yours to do, and you know, and you can, because we had talked, you know, we just upgraded the, what was the tennis court?
The basketball.
We paved the basketball.
We paid the basketball court, and we were looking at maybe doing the tennis court, and, but then if you get rid of that asset and give it to the school, does the public still have the right to go on there and use those, you know, ball fields on the weekends, or, you know, I don't think anybody uses them during school hours when school's in, because the kids are using it, you know, so you're not gonna have a bunch of adults out there playing softball on the school day, but on a weekend, you know, you throw together a kickball game or a softball game, or, you know, pick up basketball on the court. Is that, you know, is the school gonna say something about that, or is that, you know?
Right, and of course the school operates longer than it used to because they have an after-school program, they have a summer program that didn't used to be on. So the school's kind of, the prerogative of the school maintaining school safety kind of extends to a lot more time in the year than it used to.
But Sheldon's got, you know, fair amount of recreational facilities with our, you know, Gristmill Park down here, and the rail trails, and, but, you know, I guess that, I don't know, that's just
Yeah,
something to think about, I guess.
I would probably just,
Well, I can certainly reapproach them about restarting that discussion, and as I said, I kind of feel like even if the town decides to quit Clement, I mean, they technically have to, I think they have to give us $1 or something, you know, for, to show, so we have to have an agreement with them about doing that.
Maybe we trade them for the other side of the river.
Right, yeah, maybe that's an option.
But that forest and land was given to them from the mill
Right.
with the stipulation, I know, like the land that the fire station sitting on was given to the, you know, to build the fire.
Right,
Here in the mill, so was there any stipulations on that?
Right.
Uh,
But, well, for example, if the town took it over, but they managed it for the benefit of the school still, but the town would have more resources to deal with the forest, you would think, than a school district does, so.
when were they planning on changing the driveway?
Well, they brought it up
You came in March, I think, before I started, yeah.
with a few ideas, and they had an engineer look at it and do some designs.
We had, you know, we had the further discussion about trying to figure out who owned what, and then it sort of they haven't come back with anything further, so.
Yeah.
But I can certainly approach them about,
Well, if the select board doesn't have any objections to their plan, they can just go ahead and do what they want. Leave everything just the way it is, or you can quit clean, deed it over, and then that's that. We don't have to worry about the fence, we don't have to worry about the school district taking care of that issue, all that property down there. Yeah, out of our hands. We used to plow snow, we used to do this, we used to do that.
Yep.
Because we stopped plowing the snow down there because we were advised that we were not plowing a town road.
Great insurance and
And our insurance there wasn't for plowing churches and schools.
that is the only other,
That was kind of,
thing to think about down there is, of course, I mean, technically that's an asset that belongs to the town, but it's also a liability, so technically if something were to happen down there on the rec fields, I don't know who, somebody could probably claim that both against the town and the school somehow. So, yeah.
Okay, well, do a little
Sorry.
more research on it.
Okay.
that would probably be the point to just let it go to the school.
I thought.
Mhm.
All right, any other business we need to cover tonight?